The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised. The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
In that rubber band Maine. That mean manlish boy, man, I'm a full grown man, man, I'm a natural born lover, man, I'm a rolling stone, man, I'm a natural born lover, man. I'm a hoochie coochie, baby. Yay. Yay. Yeah.
Don't.
I'm a Morris Media man.
Don't.
I'm a East Side Compton child of God man.
Don't.
We some grown man. Welcome to Melanated Politics. Thank you so much for tuning in. We always take pride and appreciate the fact that we can bring you uncut information from Los Angeles, California. Thank you so much for tuning in to Melanated Politics. My name is Eric Clark, and I'm honored to have one of my best friends ever with me, David Harper.
David Harper from Fort Washington, Maryland, PG County, part of the DMV. We're here to do it.
Yes, sir.
Politics as usual, or unusual, but here we go.
There is so much we have to talk about this Sunday. That snake in the grass, Donald John Trump, everything this man has been up to with regarding his shenanigans. Also, should black folks trust the Democrats? We talked about that before on Melanated Politics, but we feel that it is straight up imperative that we discuss that again. Should black people trust the Democrats going into the 2020 elections in November? Also, I will have a straightforward message for a lot of young brothers in Los Angeles, California. This killing and this black-on-black crime needs to stop in Los Angeles right now. There are too many people against us for us to be against each other. So unless you go ahead and sign up for the Klan, we need to stop it. But we'll talk about that later. But first, like we always do around this time, Mr. Harper,
yes, indeed,
what actually happened on June 12th in the United States of America with respect to black history? And we find ourselves at this current time in Newark, New Jersey, the 67 rebellion, the 67 uprising. DJ, cut that track.
Remember that.
It's okay.
That's all right. This is the remix.
It's
That's
the
all.
remix.
It's the remix.
It's the remix.
Basically,
sometimes he rhymes so slow, sometimes he rhymes quick.
50 years ago this week, the despair of a city led to devastation on its streets. In Newark, New Jersey, an unfounded rumor that a man had died in police custody triggered 5 nights of gunfire, arson, and looting that left 26 people dead and neighborhoods in ruins. A half-century later, what's the legacy of the Newark riots? Michelle Miller is here with more. Michelle, good morning.
Good morning. The uprising that happened in New Jersey's largest city in 1967 quickly spread and soon reached cities like Detroit. It was a long, hot summer for law enforcement, who were blamed by residents for fanning the flames of intolerance in these communities that they served. Those who remember 1967 as the summer of love may have forgotten what happened that year in cities like Newark, New Jersey.
We will not tolerate violence. We're going to crush violence in this city.
For nearly a week, residents clashed with police after a cab driver named John Smith was beaten by officers of the 4th Precinct.
They started dragging me through the streets, and this evidently incensed the people of the community.
And that precinct had a notorious reputation. People thought Smith had been killed.
Lawrence Ham, who leads the People's Organization for Progress, was 12 years old when his city caught fire.
This was an explosive period. When they think of riots, they think of Newark. Detroit happened 2 weeks after. This was happening all over the country. You had these majority black cities or majority black communities, and they were patrolled by nearly all white police forces and abusing people, violating people's constitutional rights.
We citizens have the right to rebel.
The most famous writer from Newark, Amiri Baraka, he was nearly beaten to death by the police.
What is responsible for this violence, for this rebellion, is the inability of the city government to feel, as human beings, the plights of the majority of the people in this city. And that is the cause of this violence.
Newark native Amiri Baraka was a poet, playwright, and political activist.
His consciousness, his personal ideas, the things that he would do in the community was changing and in fact was becoming more escalated.
His son Ras Baraka is now Newark's mayor. Here you are 50 years later, running.
What's amazing about that clip and that turning back in time, doing that history, is that people often say we're doomed, if we don't change this, we're doomed to repeat it. The thing is that we never moved from that point as a community, as a people. We never moved, and so we're in this cycle now that you see us in 2020. That basically either things got to move or things are going to explode. And I don't think. Well, I know people can't put this on the back burner like they did in 1967, 1968. And when I'm talking about people, I'm talking about generally white America. You see more white Americans, Asian Americans, just different people on board to whether it's Black Lives Matter, I Can't Breathe, whatever is going on with the black community. Everybody realizes that we have to move because we didn't move from 1967 to 1968. And the thing that's really deep, my last point to all this, is that in that period of time, soon after that, Dr. King was assassinated, and right after that, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated.
Talk.
The importance of that is that for those moments, that's where the change engines were.
Yes, sir.
As much as people talk about Dr. King being nonviolent, politically he was shrewd. He got 2 important pieces of legislation done in 1964 and 65. So you have to understand that as he was going to move, we were going to move.
And also after he started having meetings with Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, he got killed after that. Continue.
And so when you look at where we are now, you have to understand it's not picking up the ball in 2020 or even in 2013, or during that time. We're really picking up the ball from where it was left off in 1967, 1968, and keep it moving. So that's what I have to say about it. I think those videos are timeless, and that moment in history is timeless, and we got to keep talking about it in order to shape the future.
And also, we pay homage and we honor those who lived and experienced that violence, those who stood up, those who participated, those who engaged in that rebellion, those who stood up, those who understood that we are stronger together as opposed to everybody being all of that by themselves all around, our communities and our society. So nothing but super mad love and respect to those that participated in the 67 rebellion. Also, rest in power to those that actually lost their lives, to those that are still around, which are many.
Many, yes.
And they don't just live in Newark right now. They're all over.
Yeah.
We'd want to give you a special shout out and take our hat to you and let you know that we appreciate the fact that you set an example for us to follow with respect to moving on. History repeats itself. So if we don't continue to study history, then we will continue to be at the bottom of the barrel in certain aspects. in certain societies. But we'll never forget history. We'll never forget Family Hammer. We'll never forget Hannibal of Carthage, who marched over the Alps with about 200,000 soldiers. We'll never forget Toussaint Louverture in Haiti, who took on the French army and other armies. We'll never forget Nat Turner. We'll never forget Gabriel Prosser. We'll never forget those who stood up. We'll never forget our sister Ida B. Wells. History repeats itself, and we will continue to put the names and the lives and the success and the life experiences of all of our brothers and sisters, because what if that were us?
Here's the thing.
We come from a non-selfish perspective on melanated politics. On melanated politics, we come from the perspective of what if that was us? If you could just close your eyes while you keep them open, huh?
You did talk about going to church, taking us to church, though.
Then, what if you were born then with your melanated, your black self? You would have experienced most likely a lot of these things that our brothers and sisters have experienced. So the only difference is we were born here, we were born now, and they were born then, but the struggle and the manipulation is still the same. The goals of our people are still the same. The holding hands and the praying with each other and the upliftment and the non-judging each other is still the same. Those of us in the, hey, we love each other no matter what crowd. We respect each other no matter what crowd. We don't judge each other. There's too many of us that have too much in common to be against each other. Because at the end of the day, we all will be judged in the books of history because we lived at this particular time in American history. So that's why we show those videos. That's why we go back in time. That's why we always reflect on what happened on this or that particular day in black history. So that's very, very important to us. If you stop talking about things, then others will stop talking about it. It's not important anymore. Everything we talk about will always be important. It's with respect to melanated people all around the globe. We make up 75% of all people in the world. Get that minority mentality out of your head. We're not even, we may be, yes, it's 65% Caucasians in America. It's what, 15% Hispanic, 13% African Americans, 5% Asians, 1% Native Americans. After this Trump administration, Mr. Harper doesn't even realize that at Mount Rushmore, where Donald Trump just gave his most recent speech, at Mount Rushmore, on the stolen lands of Native Americans, where 200 million Native Americans were wiped off their land, so we can call what was called now the United States of America. A lot of things have to be acknowledged. Go ahead, Mr. Harper.
Well, here's the thing. Donald Trump, when he first came into office, and when he first came into office, he let it be known, what perspective he was coming from. And I believe he made a quote saying, "We won.
Yes.
So it's our land. We won because, we were the strongest." And he's a master of, he's a master. I have to give him this. He's a master of cloaking intentions and kind of using it for other intentions. Meaning, when he says "Make America Great Again," people who love Trump will say he's just talking about the economy, the way America built things, the way America was in the 40s and the 50s, being the number one engine in the world. He's talking about "Make America Great" like that. And at the same time, he's using that same meaning to, for white folks who believe in America was great when they had total
control over all the cotton.
And let's make it clear. He's not talking about like all white. He's talking specifically about white men who now, if they say something wrong, they do something wrong, it's going to be a hashtag. Or if they if they fire somebody, they're going to get a lawsuit. Whatever it may be, "Make America Great Again" is being used as basically a slogan for multiple fronts, and he is aware. The people on his team are aware of what they're doing, and that's why it's full steam ahead.
Now, regarding his speech at Mount Rushmore, let's check that out. Let's take a look at that.
Of the founding fathers.
I am here as your president to proclaim before the country and before the world, this monument will never be desecrated. These heroes will never be defaced. Their legacy will never, ever be destroyed.
The president lashed out at protesters seeking to remove controversial historical figures from their place on pedestals.
Our nation is witnessing a merciless campaign to wipe out our history, defame our heroes, erase our values, and indoctrinate our children.
Mr. Trump announced a new executive order creating a national garden to feature statues of American heroes.
We are the country of Andrew Jackson, Ulysses S. Grant, and Frederick Douglass.
At the event, there was little space for social distancing.
Complimentary masks, 5 to a package.
Organizers offered masks, but few in the crowd put them on.
November 6th, I am certain of it.
And now coronavirus has entered the president's family circle. Kimberly Guilfoyle, the girlfriend of Donald Trump Jr., tested positive for the virus. The president's son tested negative. The pair were in South Dakota for a fundraiser, but sources say have not been in direct contact with the president.
He said, and Frederick Douglass, have mercy.
Okay, so what the video didn't show is that even though he talked about the monuments, one other thing he expressed about, I don't know if everybody heard about this. If you haven't heard the name Bubba Wallace, he is the lone African-American black driver in NASCAR who was, I guess you can say ranked, who was the most popular or whatever. And if you haven't heard, he had a noose.
He was the one that was responsible or catapulted the Confederate flag being removed from NASCAR.
From NASCAR.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you heard Donald Trump just say that these national monuments will be protected. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, he actually tweeted to Bubba Wallace,
yeah,
you need to apologize.
You need to apologize because he said it was a hoax. He said the noose was a hoax. And if you looked at the picture of the video,
why do you need a noose in the garage, man? Why not a regular rope?
Right. So
why not a piece of string?
Right, there we go.
Why not a lock? Why not a?
and here's the other thing. Here's the other thing.
Why not a chain?
That was the only one with the noose.
That was the message and everything.
It was the only garage with the noose. And the reason why I bring this up is because for the change that's happening right now in real time so fast, even when you're talking about Washington, the Washington football team, the name, I grew up in the D.C. area.
Okay.
I grew up sadly to say, a Redskin fan. I grew up loving them, not even knowing what's what.
You're bad.
I'm bad. But
Michael Jackson was bad.
Yeah, but here's the thing that's really deep. I'll never forget this. Back when Baltimore Ravens, when the Cleveland Browns moved to Baltimore, and Cleveland lost their team for a minute, and they moved to Baltimore. It was the Baltimore Ravens. And one of my coworkers, I worked at the FCC, and one of the brothers, I forget his name, one of the senior brothers there, I loved all the elders that was there. He said,
I don't know you worked at the FCC.
I worked at the FCC for a
period of time.
man,
when the show in, bro.
I worked at the FCC for a period of time.
Okay, keep going. My bad. I'm apologizing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a lot of stories.
FCC, man, come on.
Yeah.
We got to talk. Holla.
So he said he was so happy to have the Baltimore Ravens because he couldn't stand rooting for a team that promoted the slaughter of all our Native brothers and sisters.
Wow.
And it's hearing it that way is what changed my mind, which started to change my mind. But I say all that to say that there are massive changes that's happening now with the Washington football team. For the time being, let's say the Red Wolves, because that's what they're thinking about calling themselves, the Washington Red Wolves. They you have FedEx. FedEx, major corporations saying they're going to pull out.
And Nike.
And Nike. So you're having not just believe me, as much as we want to say it's a political wokeness, a social wokeness, they realize
it's money.
It's money, it's dollars and cents.
Follow the money if you live in America.
Follow the money if you live in America. So you're seeing this change, and this is the type of momentum and wave that will not only roll a president, but will roll a way of thinking and doing. The same way, if we go back for a second, the same way the NBA players rolled over, got Donald Sterling rolled over, a billionaire removed as a owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. That type of money talks. We can't be a part of this. Bottom line, there's the change that's about to happen. One phase of it is the social reckoning and the realizing that we can't have the Confederate flag, or we can't have statues of Confederate soldiers, or we can't have certain names that are blatantly racist. It's going to come down to, well, how many black people do you have working here? How many people, how many melanated people are you hiring? How many melanated people have you fired?
In management positions.
In management positions. So all of this, and then it's going to
in ownership
positions, and that doesn't just mean in sports like football, basketball, baseball. What it means in your everyday job. Economics. You had Anthony Mackie. If you don't know Anthony Mackie, he's an actor. Played in a lot of Marvel films. He plays the character Falcon alongside Captain America. He said one of the things that bothered him was that he loves Marvel because they're bringing all these black characters. But when he goes on set, there are no white PAs. There's no white producers. No all white PA, all white production assistants, all white producers. There's no people of color. Now, when you do Black Panther, it's all people of color. Now, what you're saying is you can hire people of color, black people, to do a Black Panther,
movie,
to a black movie. But any other Marvel movie, you can't hire even a black production assistant in this, that, and the third. So, bottom line, you're seeing more of a confidence in people speaking up and speaking out, and that even goes into the situation we have with COVID. The situation we got right now with COVID. You have it affecting black people, brown people, and,
You see your boy Donald Trump finally put a mask on. First time.
Man.
I believe he was at Walter Reed.
He was at Walter Reed.
He was at Walter Reed.
Walter Reed, which
and
is
he
in DC.
slid the mask on.
Slid the mask on. Walter Reed is in DC. It's a hospital for veterans.
That's out there in your neck of the woods.
My neck of the woods. And, you have a place where you have soldiers recovering, soldiers rehabilitating, and he decided to wear a mask. The thing that's happening right now, and the mentality, and I know you might feel like we're jumping subjects when we talk about Confederate flags and monuments being taken down, and we're jumping to COVID. The mentality is the same. Like in the states right now, in Texas and Florida, that don't believe, they just now maybe we should have masks on. Well, it's hitting them hard because that mentality, that arrogance, that the thought of changing and doing what is right, opposed to doing what you want to do, imposing your will on people, and not thinking about how it affects other people. That's fluid, and so you see it with this COVID-19. States like Texas, again, Florida, California is trying to, hold things down. And there's going to be a question now, possibly, are they going to shut everything back down because there's so many spikes? But the reason why we bring this up again is because you have that mentality.
Yes, sir.
Of, hey, we're going to do everything we're supposed to. We're going to go along with the money. Mm-hmm. With the money, well, it's going to hurt money now. It's going to hurt financially because you got people that can't go to work. You saw. I don't know if you heard about this. I don't know if the audience heard about this. The biggest thing, I have a son who's 9. Shout out to my son Solomon.
Shout out.
He's ready to go back to school. He wants to go back to school, but
Betsy DeVos wants him to go back to school.
Betsy
Does he
DeVos
go
wants
to a private school?
Right, exactly. So right now you have a situation where you have a woman in Betsy DeVos, a Trump appointee who's a millionaire who believes in private institutions, who's never stepped in as a child into a public school system, running the public school system, telling parents like, yo, your kids are going to go to school. even if the school is not prepared to handle it. And so that's another angle of pushing your supremacy.
And she's totally incompetent.
That's really being nice. Incompetent is really being nice.
That's Mother Teresa nice.
That's Mother Teresa nice. She is so underqualified to be in her position. You would think that you have to have some experience, some type of experience. Like, okay, it'd be one thing even if she was in the public school system as a kid. She wasn't even in that.
Yeah, but you know what? Going back, and I always like to refer to that reptile snake in the grass, Donald Trump. Going back to Donald Trump, I'm always in awe of the loyalty and the support and the obligation that his supporters have to him and that he has to his supporters. They go out in these crowds without masks. He was just about to have another rally, but it was canceled.
Yes.
So it's just so much. He continues to take credit for President Obama's economy, job numbers.
What he did, I'm talking about
Unemployment rate reduction.
When Donald Trump took over
the GDP,
when Donald Trump took over the economy when he was elected in the office, Obama steered it in a direction where we could have a job growth, and so he was rolling in with job growth. What Donald Trump solidified, and this is where he could take credit, is he basically gave more wiggle room to Wall Street to do whatever they wanted to do more things that they wanted to do.
Exactly, but now his boy just got out of jail.
Which one?
Roger Stone.
We talking about Flynn?
Stone.
Oh, cause he got so many boys, man. He got so many boys locked up. You got Flynn. You got
Manafort.
Stone, you got Manafort. You got Pompeo.
Pompeo. He's not locked up.
Oh, Pompeo's not locked up.
No, Pompeo. He started the Defense Department.
Right. Not Pompeo. What's the other one? The other one starts with a P. It's not Pompeo, but it's the other one. He got a lot of people.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of his people.
But my point I was saying is Roger Stone. He's been released from prison.
Yes.
And he's one of Donald Trump's friends, and he loves Nixon. Actually was found guilty.
Yes, he was.
For lying to Congress.
Yes, he was.
And Donald Trump.
Isn't that a crime?
That's what ask Sade, is it a crime? Man, my name is Eric Clark.
I mean, it's supposed to be a crime when you lie to Congress, you lie on stand. It's supposed to be a crime, man. It's supposed to be a crime, man.
But it's regarding Donald Trump and his just imaginary support for black folk and his imaginary alien-like love that he has for black supporters and black voters, and this imaginary fictitious science fiction channel Sharknado mentality that he has that black folks love him. Let's go ahead and show how Donald Trump really feels about black folk. Once again, DJ.
This is the newspaper of the Ku Klux Klan today. The front page story is Make America Great Again, with a big photo of Donald Trump.
This little light of mine.
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke and say that you don't want his vote or that of other white supremacists in this election?
I don't know anything about white supremacy or white supremacists, so I don't know.
Trump management was charged with discriminating against African Americans and breaking federal law.
If I were starting off today, I would love to be a well-educated black because I really believe they do have an actual advantage.
I have a great relationship with the blacks.
Oh, look at my African American over here. Look at him.
The man that was, I don't know, you say roughed up, he was so obnoxious. Maybe he should have been roughed up.
Why doesn't he show his birth certificate?
Why do you have to lose? You're living in poverty. Your schools are no good. You have no job. 58% of your youth is unemployed.
The violence, the death, the lack of education in these inner cities, it's unsafe. You can't walk to the store and get a loaf of bread. You get shot.
Total poverty, drugs, and horrible, horrible violence. What do you have to lose?
Whoa. I want a president who will teach our children that everyone in this country matters.
We know the progress we've made,
despite the forces of opposition, despite the forces of discrimination, despite the politics of backlash. And we intend to keep fighting against those forces.
Every single one of us is a product of struggle.
We don't want to go back, we want to go forward.
We lean on each other because we are always stronger together.
You want to give me a good send-off? Go vote!
There's so much in that ad because and we're going to talk about this, you know, in other shows, because we can really go into where black folks state in this country where we are and where we need to go and how we need to go, whether it's from a real strong left progressive, moderate, or even conservative, but socially progressive point where it affects our community. That video, the one thing that it rings out is that we are still fighting what we talked about, what we showed in the video with the resistance and the rebellion in 1967. You heard it from Donald Trump, what he feels about, how he feels about black folks. And ladies and gentlemen, for folks who are watching this show on this incredible platform, which is Morris Media Studios, is that was from the 2016 presidential campaign, not the 2020.
Wow.
So the thing what's really important about that is that in that particular ad that highlighted Trump in such a way from 2016, this was before there are good people on both sides. This is before if they don't like this, if they don't do what they're supposed to do, let's send them back to their shithole countries. This is before all of that. This is before all of that. So you have to understand he's been consistent of who he is from jump. But we didn't move back in 2016 for a couple reasons. One being Hillary. I know we'll get on the Democrats later on. But in that ad, you didn't see any Hillary Clinton at all. You saw her campaign brand, her H with the arrow, but you didn't see her, and that's for a reason. But regardless, what's important is to understand is that we are fighting against a man and against a mentality and against a movement, whether it's that Confederate flag movement or whether it's the movement to label Black Lives Matters as a racist group, whether it's a movement to not giving people the stronger rights to vote. When I say any people, I'm talking about us. We're fighting against what the rebellion and the resistance was fighting against in 1967. I know that because you see more black billionaires, because we have an Oprah, because we have a LeBron James, because we have wealthy people, and I have to give LeBron credit because he's a guy who's not only wealthy playing sports, he brought his friends up.
Well, economics in the black community and being self-reliant and us depending on ourselves as opposed to the U.S. government is at the top of the list. Go ahead.
There we go. And so we've gotten, because we see more of us better in a lot of ways off than where we were maybe in the 60s, maybe even in the 80s. But all of that's really, for lack of a better word, it's an illusion.
It's an illusion. I mean,
so
exactly.
There are some things, yes. Is it, when I was born in 1974, is it better than my son? When I was born, was I born into a world that was better than the world that he was born in 2011?
Look, man. Listen, when you was 10, if you get pulled over, you get your head cracked open.
Yep.
And he 10, he get his head cracked open.
Yep.
We voted for a lot of people in between that time.
Yes, we did.
So what has voting changed? Now, let me finish. I'm not saying don't go vote. Because as El-Haj Malik El-Shabazz always says, one of my heroes, voting changed the lives of black folks in Angola, in South Africa, in Mozambique, in Ghana, in America to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, has the safety and security of your life changed? I believe that melanated black folks should do two things. First of all, you can't fight fire with fire. What is that? You have to fight fire with water, okay? So the bottom line is, address the biggest problem that we have. We're not together. That's because we judge each other, and it'll take another 15-hour show to go over everything. But at the same time, we all together, because that is not to discredit all of us that we do business together. Like I say, we hold hands, we empathize with each other, we have each other's best interest. We continue to remain family members as well as friends, as opposed to just strangers. So we need to have some documentation, a documentation. I would even go as far as, for lack of a better term, I would say a manifesto.
Okay.
For the Democratic National Committee. Number one, unless you put reparations on the table, we're not voting. Unless you change the Constitution, that 3/5 out of there, okay, and reenact policies that we black folks have continued to push over and over again since we had power in North Carolina and other states during Reconstruction, like we talked about before on melanated politics. Mm-hmm. So instead of just running out there, running on stage, being with the Democrats, and we need to hold the Democrats accountable. If our vote is that power, put a price on it and hold it hostage. And unless the demands are met, you won't see your people again. Symbolically speaking, metaphorically speaking, politically speaking, because remember, we always define politics, man, around these parts as politics simply means war without bloodshed.
That will be advantageous for the black community. But the biggest issue, and I'm not going to say the biggest issue I have with that statement, I wouldn't even say criticism. What I want to add is that only works because it's definitely worth the risk, but we have to like. And
that was just I'm just putting it out there.
But the way that works,
yes,
because I've heard that from Puffy, I've heard that from Sean Combs, I've heard that from Bob Johnson, former owner of BET, billionaire. I've heard that same thing. But the only way that works is if those people, particularly the wealthy people, who are well off. Hold up, let me finish.
Go ahead.
They got to cover our backs for the community, because if
that'll never work.
No. Because here's the thing. Because that's fine. We can hold it for the Democrats, which is I totally understand. But then we got Trump and that mentality to deal with. So the whole point is, it's like, okay, if we don't get our demands, we vote the Democrats in. We don't vote the Democrats in. We got to deal with Trump, and we're going to get more judges. Well,
instead of him nominating, would it be 25 instead of 20? One thing that I owe the audience. I owe a lot of my friends that have been participating in. We've been lucky enough, my brother, to get their support since the first show.
Yes, indeed.
One thing that I failed to mention, one of our biggest issues in our community that's in the top 5 is the wrong black folk is the one with the money. It ain't the right black folk with the one with. If the right black folk were the one with the money, black folks wouldn't even have all these problems. Now, you can go ahead and look at that any way you choose to. And one thing that we all have is an extremely vivid imagination. We are in a much better position financially, economically, we still don't control the economics in our neighborhoods. And shout out to all the news shows on Morris Media that talk about this type of stuff, that talk about the economics in Los Angeles and the black community in the United States and how that ties to melanated people globally, internationally. Peace to all the news shows on Morris Media that talk about this type of stuff, because it's all interlaced, it's all tied in together. But that's why I have so much respect for guys like LeBron James, who empower not only his friends but his community. So,
and just jump on that real quick. You have I'm sorry I forget your name, bro. There's a young brother, 4-star basketball, a high school player that's going to go to Howard University, and that's what I'm talking about, the unity. Because if you have black athletes go to black universities, that means that revenue is going, and understand these black universities are in black communities. That money is going into the advertising revenue, the shoe deals, all that is going to the college, which in a lot of ways could help the community. So with that said, that's the type of cushion we need.
Okay, I get that, Dave. How many black faces you see in them front row seats when we watch the Laker games, when we watch the Knicks games, when we watch the Rams games? Okay, how many black faces do we see on the front rows in them luxury boxes? Okay, just like you had brothers fighting each other in slavery for Massa and Mr. Gilmore, we can. I have, you know what, Kyrie Irving. I always respected that brother's crossover in his basketball game, because I got a little crossover myself. Okay, but right now we're doing MP melanated politics. Okay, let's stay in this lane.
Let's stay in that lane.
But anyway, he had made suggestions and proposals that they need to start their own league. Listen, for us to continue to make people all this money. See, people look at the paychecks that the athletes get and they complain they don't want to stand for the flag and they're spoiled athletes, but they never talk about how much money, and I even hate to say this word, the owners make. Yeah. Just that name, the owners make. So if we're smart enough to dribble, if we're smart enough to not shut up and just dribble, then we need our own leagues.
So with that,
and there's been a lot of flack behind that. So, you know, peace to Kyrie Irving, peace to all these brothers that understand that we need to be independent economically. It happened in Greenwood, Rosewood. It happened in Rosewood. It happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It happened on Black Wall Street. It happened in Florida, in Rosewood, Florida. Yeah. It happened in Elaine, Arkansas.
Right.
So, you know, black people owning their own businesses, controlling their own community is not some pipe dream. We're talking about we just need to all of a sudden and everybody walk on Crenshaw and hold hands and figure out how we need to do business with each other. We have been doing it. It's just something we need to continue to engage in and make that a priority. But we cannot do that if we don't focus on that being one of our priorities.
It has to be the priority, because you know why? The only way we are going to make it through this, unless we do what you just said, like what we've been doing, and just be like, hey, we did this before, let's keep doing it. Then after we do that, then we can hold the vote.
You got Louisiana chicken on every corner in L.A., and ain't nobody in there from Louisiana. Have mercy.
But it's some good chicken, though.
No.
I ain't gonna lie, some good chicken. It's some good chicken. Man, come on now. They not going out of business. You know some good chicken. Stop, man. Come on. Shoot, man.
Okay, you get the rice, you get the fries, you get the dinner roll.
I get the fries. I get the fries. I get the fries. But ultimately, we have to do that in order if we're going to hold the vote. That's really what it comes down to. Because we are fighting even more so than if the Democrats are going to do. We're fighting against Trump, racism, Confederacy. This is the Civil War. This
what
is what
part of your life does somebody get something from you and they don't have to earn it?
I agree with that point. I agree with that point.
They need to start earning black folk vote.
I don't deny that. But if we're going to survive the white supremacist
Then vote for the three strikes dude, Joe Biden.
No, we can't.
Or vote for the resurrection of General Custer, Donald Trump.
No, but he is
the resurrection of Woodrow Wilson.
He
the resurrection of Andrew Jackson.
But he will be voted in. That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to explain.
Donald Trump is going to win the next election.
He's not going to win the next election. He's not going to win. He's not going to win.
Okay, we said that the last time.
We said that last. Well, no, you know what?
We said that the last.
We said the last time, but look.
And the Charlistics didn't sing "Betcha My Golly Wah." Come on, man.
You going about the Charlistics? He's not going to win. He's not going to
He
win.
will get a second term.
He will not get a second term.
And people will be in the streets crying and running around, and I can't believe it. And you know what? I was fortunate enough to meet my brother David. We don't talk about ourselves. Well, I can't say I don't talk about me.
I was going to say, don't tell the people that. You know you talk about yourself.
But David and I, we met doing political work. And we've been road dogs, friends, comrades since that very first initial day. And I'm honored to be associated with you, brother, on and off this show.
As I am with you. Always.
And I've had major debates with, and I'm not exaggerating, brother, hundreds of black folks that said there is no way white America is going to vote for Donald Trump after our brothers that they refer to as a Central Park Five, after Donald Trump's dad was in the paper for being caught at a Klan rally in 1921, after they put C on his management company's applications to notify the powers that be that's a colored person, don't let them rent a place, okay? After he led the charge on the birtherism, he's from Kenya, let me see his grades from Harvard and Columbia. After all that, 55 to 60% of white women still voted for Donald Trump. So, I mean, what else do you need to see? David, listen. Every time you walk in the room, she runs in the bathroom, she's on the phone, okay? Every time she says she's coming home at 8, she comes home at 10. Okay, every time she says she's going to pick the kids up, she's cheating on you, bro. What else do you need to see?
I need to hear what our caller has to say. I need to hear what our caller has to say before I answer that question. I want to hear what our caller.
Let's see what the caller has to say.
You're asking about Mr. Clark, A. But also, I'm curious, we talk about what black folks need to do overall. We haven't really determined what black folks' priorities are overall, have we? And I ask that because I've had really interesting conversations with gentlemen who swear that Kamala Harris has no business being near the White House or anything else because she was Attorney General in California and wisely up Negroes who were targeting their own community with their crimes. So how do we determine what our priorities are, gentlemen, if we can't even determine that somebody who's been of service to us, like Kamala Harris, is worthy of being in the White House? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the call.
Thank you for the call.
Thank you so much for the call. You want to take that one? Or you want me to start it? It's a lot with that because she's the caller. I have to give it to the caller. Thank you. Made some great points.
She made great points because she made great points that are leading into our next topic, which are should we trust the Democrats? And obviously, Joe Biden will be the eventual nominee for the Democratic National Party, the Democratic National Committee. So that's a very quick question. Kamala Harris, the Attorney General for the great state of California, and a former prosecutor.
She's a beast at a prosecutor. I've seen her on Grill People.
Okay, but who was she? I'm not a fan of. Let me just go ahead. I won't spit in nobody's face and then turn around and tell them it's raining. I'm not a. Kamala Harris is at the bottom of the list of getting a Christmas card from me, and I do not celebrate Christmas. Okay, will she outperform Mike Pence on stage at a vice president debate, vice presidential debate? Absolutely. can she make the case that a Democrat should be the president of the United States in the year of our Lord, 2020, and 3-4 years after that? Of course. But Kamala, I'm from California. See, it's fair to say that most of us are passionate about things that affect us personally, correct?
Correct. That's correct.
Now, her policies affected me and people that I know personally.
Mm-hmm.
I know people right now that haven't taken a shower in a week and a half in the California State Penitentiary behind things like selling weed and petty crimes, nonviolent crimes. I hear what the caller said. That you made a very good point, because no one puts a gun to your head and say, go join a gang. No one puts a gun to your head and say, hey, look, you need to commit a crime. No one makes, I understand all the social issues. I understand the psychology of poverty and the psyche of an individual with a lack of opportunities and morals and et cetera, but I also am mature enough to understand that at the end of the day, no one pulls a gun to your head. But that does not let the racist laws that California had on the books that were enacted by Kamala Harris, it doesn't let her off the hook.
And looks like we have another caller. I'm going to piggyback on that point, but we have another caller. So let's go.
Let's take the call.
Let's take the call.
Hello, Eric and David. How you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. How you doing, Kev? Doing well.
As usual. I'd like to make a comment. I think that I agree with David. I don't think Donald Trump will win. And the reason I say that, I know he's really trying to create the culture war, but this guy's unraveling.
What medical marijuana shop do you go to, brother?
I'm going to tell you why.
Is it in Hollywood or is it on the east side?
Let me tell you why.
Imperial Vermont.
Let me tell you why I can use logic in the natural state.
He needs to hear that logic. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Number one, Donald Trump has run a culture war, and it's to the point where it's almost like a Jim Jones suicidal thing. Because what you're overlooking is the coronavirus and his failure with dealing with this. And the scientific numbers are alarming to Americans as a whole. I'll get back to our black issues, but let me tell you, this guy is handling rallies with people ignoring social distancing, masks, and the numbers are going up to a real beyond pandemic, almost suicidal state. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, he's convincing people. I looked at Secretary DeVos talking about kids going back to school. The guy was telling her what the doctor said about the social distancing wouldn't work in places like Fairfax, Virginia, or whatever, where you would have to build schools the size of 5 Pentagon. You would have to build schools the size of 5 Pentagon buildings for that. And the education secretary, she's still not answering yes or no questions and saying, well, kids will have to go back to school anyway and they'll work it out. And they're threatening the whole funding and things like that. Well, that, for starters, is going to raise the alarm of most Americans, because Donald Trump is trying to see if racism is illogical to the point where it's suicidal. And I don't really think it is. People, even if they don't like black people, they still like staying alive as white people.
Okay, Dr. Kevin, did it get him elected last time? Yes or no?
No, it did, but things wasn't in this state of affairs.
I agree. I can agree with the last part.
Okay, you got to look at the kind of economy Obama handed over. Racists had the borderline racists, if there's such a thing, had the right to be, or the luxury of being nonchalant about things, and they could elect a Donald Trump. But now things are in a tragic state, so that doesn't really apply. And another thing I want to say, I noticed the Supreme Court passed where the Electoral College has to go with the state that wins the popular vote. They have to go with the popular vote. They can't turn their back. Exactly. And I really want to say the Confederate States is what helped Donald Trump win, even though Hillary won the popular vote.
Right.
And the next issue, I want to address is what you guys are talking about in terms of a collective action. It's going to have to be economic, which will foster the legislative actions. Voting is a necessity, though. You have to have your people in place to initiate any kind of measurable legislation that you see of being a benefit to you. But it's going to take a collective effort economically to give anyone a sense of urgency when they see their pockets can be emptied by black people. So I agree with that as a combination thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kev. Appreciate that. That's a great comment. And you know how I know it's great and it's awesome? Eric is speechless right now. You see, he's speechless. He's just. Thank you so much, Kevin. We can't wait to have you here in the studio, and we definitely gonna talk about this a little bit more. You have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you for calling in.
Pleasure. You brothers fight the good fight.
That was
Thank
great.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, have a good one. What I wanted to say real quick to piggyback off what Kevin said, but also what the caller mentioned. Kamala Harris, really quick, is more than qualified to be president. I agree.
Let me just say this system.
Let me just say this. Everything that you said was right. No one puts a gun to your head to join a gang, this, that, and the third. But you cannot ignore the system of taking away funds to our inner cities and our public. That was implemented by Reagan strongly, and putting us in a bad situation. And she helmed a system. So she does have to account for that.
Yeah.
She does have to account for that. But we do have to get our priorities straight. You're absolutely right. And that starts from...
And I never said melanated folk should not vote. The only thing I said is just don't be a sheep for the Democrats like we have been since the Democratic Party and the Republican Party switched over.
I don't think we've been sheep. I just think we've been practical. I think there's a difference. I think there's a difference being survival mode and just being like, oh, I don't think there's any black person who's been voting Democrat that feels like the Democratic Party is the savior and just vote blue no matter what. I think it is a strategic standpoint coming from where, particularly, like when they switched over, that was a crucial time. And up until that point, now it's kind of because of that switch over, you're having more of us not just voting Democrats, being Democrats.
My brother from Compton, D.L. Hughley, man, I love to watch this brother along with my sister A.M. Joy. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, she's gonna be the first sister to highlight a show and to host a show in prime time hours, yes.
Being an anchor, yeah.
But outside of that, I love to watch D.L. Hughley.
Right.
My brother from my city of Compton, intelligent, wonderful comedian, standing 10 feet tall for the honor, the dignity, and integrity for black folk everywhere.
Yes, indeed.
And I love when he talked about Democrats and Republicans. So let's take a look at my boy D.L. Hughley.
So there is much made about black people living on the plantation. People on the right would say black people need to get off the Democratic plantation and come with us. People like Diamond and Silk or Nylon and Rocks or whatever they are. Here's the truth. 54% of black people live in the southern region of the United States of America. 54%. 19% live in the Midwest. 18% live in the Northeast. And 6% live in the West. So more black people live in the southern region of the United States of America than any other region in the country. More black people live in the southern region of the United States of America than any other region in the country. Ironically, the southern region had a lot of plantations.
Well, I say we build a wall.
And what's happened since is that if you look at the southern region of the United States of America, they are a solid block of red. They're Republicans. They're a solid block of reds. Also a solid block of illiteracy. Also a solid block of sickness and unhealthiness, infant mortality. So what plantation is it that you would like us to leave? The states that black people live in primarily, North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, Arkansas, Alabama, Texas, Georgia. Tell me which one of those states does good for black people. Which one of those states are black people flourishing in? I'm not talking about the educated one. I'm talking about I'm not talking about the ones who migrate. I'm talking about the ones who live there. We just read an article in the LA Times that said that since 2000, that black people's median income went from $41,000 to $39,000. Now, I don't know what to ascribe that to, but I can say this. Virtually every place, the top 10 cities where black people do well are either in a blue state or a blue city in a red state. So this idea, this notion that going with a particular party, the Republican Party, is something we should ascribe to is bullshit. I know that Democrats have their problems. I certainly admit that. But when you tell me to get off the plantation, why would two women who look like they literally just got off a plantation tell me what's good for us? Look at where black people live in the southern region of the United States.
We're going to continue this conversation, what D.L. Hughley was talking about, but it goes also with the conversation that the caller was talking about. Where do we go? And I agree with D.L. Hughley 1,000%. When it comes to Democrat Party, post-Republican Party, but more or less black issues, and where do we get that? Where do we get everything going from? It starts with us, like you said, but politically, where do we go? And we got to continue this conversation at another time, of course, which is next week.
Melanated Politics is now on Morris Media every single Sunday from 10:30 to 11:30. So please continue to tune in, call in, check us out. Let's continue to stay united. Melanated, the absence of color politics, we always define as war without bloodshed. Everyone that has been down with melanated politics from day one, we can never put into words how much we appreciate you and have so much respect for your passion for what we do around here at this time. Before we go, I want to give a shout out to the memory of my good friend, Big Zoe, Mars Zoe, rest in power, who passed away a few weeks ago, who has been very intricate in my participation on Melanated Politics. He was helped me with every single show from the first show a couple of years ago, even prior to that when I was on the Al Toomer show. But our first show a couple of years ago until a couple of weeks ago. So Big Zoe, rest in power, hugs to his family and to the rest of his friends. Big Zoe, rest in peace. Once again, you guys, we can never thank you enough for watching Melanated Politics, where our tongue is our gun and our wisdom is our ammunition. Peace. We're out.